Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Episode 20, start! Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alisha, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. First question this week comes from Dave. Hi Dave. Some people use LOL on the internet. What does it mean? Yeah, LOL can mean laugh out loud or lots of laughs. I've heard both. But either way, we use this expression to quickly explain we thought something was funny. LOL. Next question comes from Pavel. Hi Pavel. Pavel says, hey Alisha, please tell us about the difference between to not and not to, as in I want to not and I want not to, for example. Yeah. So with these, there's not really a difference between these. Like I want not to and I want to not do something. Both of these are casual ways of explaining a negative in speech. The correct sentence would be, I don't want to do something. But like native speakers sometimes like to kind of play with grammar a little bit. That's one reason they might use this pattern. Either of these patterns, really. Also, sometimes we start a sentence and we make it positive, like I want to, and then we realize part of the way into the sentence, oh wait, I want to express something negative. So we change it to not or not to. So I want not to blah blah blah, or I want to not blah blah blah. Both are okay, but just keep in mind that we use that I want not to or I want to not blah 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 in casual situations. We don't generally use these in formal situations. Instead, we use I don't want to blah blah blah. I want to not get in trouble. I want not to get in trouble. The correct sentence here would be I don't want to get in trouble. But you'll hear native speakers do this for a number of reasons. So there's not really a difference between these two. But you will hear both of those used by native speakers. I hope that helps. Thanks for the question. Next question comes from Sagri Karakilar. I am so sorry. Hi Alisha, can I use though instead of nevertheless? It looks as if their meanings are the same. Thank you. This is a great question. Though and nevertheless, yes, while they do have similar meanings sometimes, they have different grammatical functions. So nevertheless means in spite of the thing that was said before, or despite the prior thing. Nevertheless is used only as an adverb. Though, however, can be used as an adverb, yes, but it can also be used as a conjunction. Though can also mean nevertheless or in spite of. However, it also sometimes just has the meaning of but. Though I almost ran out of time, I finished the test with a perfect score. He told me he would call at 8, though it's 8:15 and I haven't heard from him. I almost ran out of time. Nevertheless, I finished the test with a perfect score. Her proposal was rejected. Nevertheless, she continued with her research. Hope that helps answer your question, though. Thanks for the question. Awesome one. Next question comes from Marcos Correa. Hi, Marcos. Marcos says, Alisha, help, in all caps. Alisha, help. The words whether and weather have the same pronunciation? And does weather have the same sense of if? Could you use it in some examples? Please reply. Yes, yes, you're correct. Thanks, Marcos. Weather, as in like clouds, sunlight, rain, snow, wind. Weather and weather, W-H-E-T-H-E-R, they have the same pronunciation, yes. And the WH form does contain the meaning of if, as in whether or not something. So native speakers will often say whether or not, but we can reduce this to if. Some examples. He hasn't decided whether or not he's coming to dinner. I don't know whether or not I'm going to travel this summer. Do you know whether or not your parents are at home? In each of these sentences, we could change whether or not to if. I hope that answers your question, Marcos. Thanks. Next question comes from Kesava. Hi again. Kesava says, what's the difference between bored with and bored by? Great question. There's no difference, actually. Bored with and bored by. Also, we use bored of. So these are all used in the same way to explain something that causes us to feel bored. I'm so bored by this lesson. I'm so bored with this textbook. I'm so bored of you. So we can use all of these in the same way. You might find that some people have personal preferences for which one they choose to use. but we use them all in the same way. Nice question, though. Next question comes from Paul. Hi, Paul. Let me ask a question, or let me ask a question. Which is the correct sentence? Both of these are actually correct. Lemme is the reduced form of let me, so we use this in more casual situations. Let me ask a question is fine too. It just sounds more formal, and when we reduce the sounds, actually, it sounds a little more natural. So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. That's fine to use in speech. In writing, however, Lemme looks very casual, so we typically don't use that in formal writing. But both of them are actually correct. Okay, so those are all the questions that I want to answer for this week. Thank you so much for sending your questions, as always. Remember, you can send your questions to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alisha. If you liked the video, please make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check us out at englishclass101.com for other good English study tools. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Ask Alisha, and I will see you again next week. Bye!